Go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Guess what? It is Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's the Seacoast Beverage Lab podcast. We did it for Wednesday, July 23rd, 90 degrees out, 2014. It is episode number 85 here. We're 15 away from the big number, so get ready and wake up your kids on the 100th episode because we're going to be here going hundo strong. We're one man, one woman short, and I'll get to that reason in a little bit. But I'm drinking the Framingham Lager by Jack's Abbey, and I think it's the last one of my 12 pack, so I'm getting kind of scared. I got to restock. Let's go to Sean. What up?
Hey, how's it going? This is Sean from twobeerguys.com. I'm currently drinking a special Brewmaster Series Black IPA from Berkshire Brewing Company, also known as the BBC.
Nice. How's that going down?
It's delicious. Right from popping the cap, the nose is very hoppy and aromatic. Got a lot of roasty, coffee notes to it, and pretty bitter on the back of my tongue. I like it.
Awesome. Speaking of bitter, old curmudgeon Norm, what's up?
Hey guys, Norman Miller, the Beer Nut, Real Beer Nut on Twitter, Metro West Daily News, wickedlocal.com, and I'm drinking the Sierra Nevada Beer Camp Torpedo Pilsner, Hoppy Pilsner with Firestone Walker right now. So,
Man, awesome.
yeah, I just picked the 12 pack yesterday, so I'm on my second one.
Awesome. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that towards the end of the show because I rarely have I seen like a Twitter, Facebook freak out over a beer. So we got to kind of dive into that and figure out what the heck's going on here. Because as we all know, the festival's coming up in Portland, Maine, but the tour is kicking off. But yeah, so Carla can't make it tonight. She's working late, and Momo is actually at Yuengling tonight, so he's not going to report from there. But we do have a couple stories that kind of tie in with Yuengling that we'll talk to. So last week we had a great episode with Dan Canary of Harpoon. We encourage you to check it out. He was talking about the whole employee-owned ESOP that they've implemented at Harpoon, and it's a crazy story, and it's kind of a revolutionary for the brewing world. So check it out. That was last week. Let's kick it off.
Brian, how are the views for it?
Oh, we had about 7 million views.
Wow.
Actually, and I feel bad. So for those that are watching this live or listening and are like, well, I just saw it yesterday. I haven't uploaded the audio yet because I, for some reason, don't like to keep a schedule with that. So that's on me. But let's check out the views real quick. Let's see. And I won't announce them live if they're not that crazy. But, well, we got a couple views there. But it was well received. Is someone watching right now?
Speculating for years about.
Sorry about that.
Oh, is it the ad on Sean's link or Boston Herald's
I had
link?
on a link. Yeah, I had a link from one of the stories we're going to talk about, and suddenly just started going.
Spoiler alert! But you know, it's a well-received episode, and again, he's our first person that's been on the show twice as a guest, and who better? I mean, he's one of the titans. So check it out. That was last week. Norm, what happened? Did you get into anything last week that you want to give a quick plug to?
Well, I just wanted to give a little shout out. The reason I missed last week's show is they had a little celebration for Sam Adams at the brewery. It's the 30th anniversary, so I got to go to a dinner with a bunch of beer writers and Jim Cook. We got a tasting of every single Utopias, as well as 20-year-old Triple Buck and Millennium. There was a nice video, dedication of Jim Cook that featured Sam Calagione, brewers and writers and local people, just like thanking Sam Adams and Boston Beer for what they did for the craft beer world. So it was a nice dinner. It was a nice event. Got to see Jim kind of loosen up because it wasn't like a media event. It wasn't something like a bunch of people were there taking notes, and he's actually pretty much the same in person when he's loose than he is when he's talking. So that's good to see. It was a fun night.
Awesome. What was your favorite brew of the night there?
I actually really liked the 99 Millennium, which one that really kind of sucks because they only did 3,000 bottles, and it was 15 years ago, so the likelihood of being able to ever find is nil. The 2005 Utopias was fantastic, and I think the 2009 were probably my 3 favorites of the day.
Cool. Awesome. Anything with the book? Still chugging?
Still chugging. I did a book signing at the craft beer cellar in Belmont on Saturday. Had some fun out there.
Thanks to the flagship store. Well played.
Yeah, it was just like a kind of a last minute thing. Thursday night I was on Twitter. I was like, hey, I have nothing to do Saturday. How about this craft beer cellar Belmont host me? And they're like, sure. So that's how it came together. So it was like a 5-minute thing on Twitter, and I got the signing. So it was like a last minute thing, but it wasn't bad.
Awesome. Sean, what's happening? Anything go on between last week and this?
We impromptu had some people over on Sunday and just had a couple different brews and enjoyed a West Valletta 6, which is their blonde, which hadn't had that before, which was pretty nice. Actually, I may have had it before, but I didn't really remember it. But it was definitely good. And then we actually broke out the bottle of Brocass Hobby that I had. I was actually quite impressed by the beer. I had been saving it for a while, and I hadn't really popped it open, and I was actually impressed by the liquid. It was quite tart, but not overpowering, and very smooth and easy to drink.
Yeah, so for those that know, want to give a quick background on Brocass Hobby? I mean, just kind of like what the story is, real quick behind it.
Yeah, I think we discussed it on a previous show, but yeah. Brocass Hobby was the beer that was the last beer brewed and bottled by David at Blue Lobster. And it was intended to be it was a collaboration beer with one of his friends that it was intended to have a different name, and after his departure for the company, the name was called Brocass Hobby.
I'm pissed that I missed it, but it tasted all right. You said?
Yeah, it was good. It was with had some Brett yeast used in it. It was quite impressive. But even bigger than that, Monday night I went to one of the immersion events. I think it's called the immersion events, where Goose Island has been taking over Portland, Maine for a couple days this week. I went for the kickoff on Monday night. Cool. Ended up having, I think there was maybe like 8 Goose Island beers on draft, and one of them was Standard Goose Island Bourbon County 2013. There was also Bourbon County 2013 Coffee Stout. There was also 2013 Barley Wine, along with some Juliet, which is their wild sour beer, one of the female beers that I think we had back when we went to Chicago for the pre-excursion.
Juliet?
Yeah. Awesome. And I just saw a video from Active Beer Geek. Ben Moore posted something on YouTube about Bourbon County. So I don't know if he was tasting it with somebody, but I haven't checked it out.
Yeah, they did a couple of events. They did some last night and tonight. I guess the whole big to do was that they had a beer called Henry. I guess that's pretty rare and difficult to get. That was going to be on at a couple spots this week.
If I remember correctly, I think Henry might be. I might be wrong, but I think that's the Bourbon County Stout without being barrel aged.
Okay. Pretty cool. Yeah, it was pretty fun. It was a crowded place. It was a barbecue restaurant in Portland, Maine called Savage.
Oh, how was that freaking place?
It was good. The food was good.
Talking about that place, man.
I had like a plate of food that was like just piled over the top of it. It was just.
And for Sean, that's crazy.
Amazing.
For those that don't know Sean, wicked picky eater. Wicked picky eater.
Yeah, it was good.
Nice.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, for me, not too crazy. This past weekend, I did a book signing in Keene at Elm City, or at Toadstool Books, right next to Elm City. Good turnout, some thirsty people, and they love the book, so good stuff there. I don't even know what else I did. Oh, I went down to Connecticut to visit some friends. In doing so, I went down to New England Brewing Company. Unfortunately, for that trip, they had a good 4th of July, so they were out of every beer but 2. So the trip was almost for naught. But I got to taste some beers fresh from the tap, which was always good. But they were still trying to recover from the 4th of July. The brewery's nice. Nothing to write home about, but the beers are super good. It's in a weird part of Connecticut, but then again, I haven't been to Connecticut for 10 years, so that was the first time back in a while. Shout out to those guys. Brought some beers home. Actually had my first Two Roads beer, and I liked it. It was one of their pilsners. I forget what it's called exactly, but I drank that all afternoon and played cornhole and lawn darts and all that crap. So it was good stuff.
What else did you have any other Connecticut specific beers?
There was one, and I forget the name, and I didn't even untap it because I don't want to be that one guy at the party that used untap. So I kept my phone in the pocket. I forget. I had a New England Brewing Company one. I had a couple of their beers, but I forgot the other one. I'll look it up.
Wasn't Revival or anything?
Oh shoot, no. It was some other. It wasn't. It's someone had brought it. So and I say that because I don't think it was like a. It might have been like a very super local one. I'm not sure though. I'll look it up as you guys are talking, just so I can see. I can try to chime in.
Oak?
Huh?
Charter Oak? Beaver? SBC? Come on.
SPC maybe. That's not. I gotta look at the thing again. But I brought some Good Love. I brought some Bouncy House, and I brought some Jack's Abbey Framing Hammer. So that was sucked up pretty quick. And that's pretty much it until I get to talking about this coming weekend. But yeah, because there's a couple things going on tomorrow and the weekend. But let's get into some of the news. Yeah. Normie brought an article that is worth giving a chat about, and it's from the Boston Herald, dude. So Normie, we'll go ahead, hit it.
Okay. Well, the other day, the Boston Herald had a story. Obviously, if you're in Massachusetts, you couldn't go anywhere a few months ago without hearing about Yuengling coming to Massachusetts, and you heard some breweries were worried that they're going to take tap handles and everything. Well, in the article written by Carrie Byrne, who wrote my foreword for my book, I had to get a little plug in, sorry, basically had an article saying that it's not doing well. They had a quote from Baseball Tavern Fenway, which is a big bar. They're saying, quote, the novelty is worn off. They call it the Krispy Kreme syndrome. Everyone wants it at first, but it quickly goes downhill sales-wise. And they even interviewed, I think his name is Dan Casanelli. He's David Casanelli, the chief operating officer at Yuengling, and he admits they're not doing it as well as he said. That's probably the most competitive market they've been in, and they're not doing as well as they thought they were going to.
It's crazy. And so the article, does anyone hear that? Oh, that's me. It's that stupid Boston Herald link. I clicked on it again. But no, so it mentions a bar that's kind of I hadn't heard of, but I wonder how it's affecting other beers. But we were talking or beer bars. Word screw up. But
oops, sorry.
No, I was gonna say because we were talking about it right when it came in that a lot of local breweries in Boston might get upset that their beers get taken off first. So I wonder if that's still happening. But I don't know if anyone has any insight on that.
I know from watching on Twitter, a few breweries mentioned that they had lost tap handles originally in there. Not there, I guess. Yuengling, and every once in a while I'll see some. Oh, we got a tap handle back on such and such. Yeah. They didn't say which beer was taken off, but I mean the fact that I know I talked to a couple people from some liquor stores that carry Yuengling, and they were saying they expected it not to carry over how it was the first 2 weeks, obviously.
Yeah.
But it actually went way down below what they thought. They thought it was going to settle down into like a good seller for them, but it's really right in the middle to below average right now for them, which they did not expect, especially this quickly.
Yeah. Sean, any insight, thoughts?
I think it's I think maybe some people had illusions of grandeur a little bit. When you go into the market, I think they did the best job that anyone could ever do. They create a large buzz, a large demand for it. There was that initial basically throwing it out everywhere, and then just in a natural tendency, you will see a decline, but then it'll come back up, and it's probably not settled where the overall volume will be. I think one of the things of coming to Massachusetts first is it created a lot more, rather than people going out of state because not wanting to pay the taxes on the bottle tax, but people from out of state will actually have been coming to Massachusetts and growing the Massachusetts volume, taken away from some other states where they may have normally purchased from. Being in the New Hampshire market day to day, I definitely hear people all the time, how come it's not in the store? Like you'll be in a grocery store and people are like, oh, where's the Yuengling? And like, no, you just came half an hour over the border and it's not sold here yet. Oh. Yeah. And they're like, oh, we should just bought it before we left. Yeah, no kidding.
Yep.
But pick something else.
It's interesting because what was it was going in, is it in Rhode Island yet, Yingling?
I can't
It,
remember.
it's in the process of, or or it's just fresh.
Right, so that'll bring a concern down there with obviously Gansett. Not that it's comparable, but again, it's comparable, right? I mean, if they're trying to get some sort of fanfare behind it, the only beer you can kind of bring it in comparison with is that, which who knows if
I
they'll
mean,
take
it's in what you call like the premium category, and
that. Yeah,
right now in the market, there's really, I think, more restaurants are looking for traditional craft brands rather than the premium or the light category, released on draft, or they may only put a small portion of their tap handles aside to those brands. So there will be winners and losers on that. For sure.
I actually think that with the promotion they put in, I think it was almost over the top. It created almost of people who weren't familiar with Yingling. Ooh, I have to get this, and they taste it. It's not exactly what they thought. I think it was only almost they put too much expectations by having this gigantic rollout with millions of dollars being spent on the ad campaign. Because I know we were going to talk about it later, but I think this kind of ties in. Shiner just came to Massachusetts, and they're doing it differently. They're coming in, they're just rolling it in, very little press. They're just trying to build it up slowly instead of just getting that big hit at the beginning and going down. They're trying to build up the audience from like as a base and work from the base instead of the other way around. Because I mean, since I've been writing about beer, I would have to say until Yuengling came here, the number one question I ever heard was, "When's Yuengling coming here?"
jeez.
And then I was so happy when they announced this. I could just tell people 3 months. Just leave me alone about it. 3 months. But I actually think that the gigantic push was almost a backfire. I think a lot of people who really weren't familiar with Yuengling almost expected something that wasn't. And I think a lot of those people tried it once and didn't go back to it.
Yeah.
I would bet that they're pretty happy with the volume that was sold through. This hasn't been a great January to June season with summer really starting late. So I mean, I think because of that also has an effect into it. But I think the way that they came into market, they were able to probably sell a lot more volume than they could have if they went slow and steady. The thing that I find interesting though is that with I mean, what was extremely ridiculous, we talked about this a couple of times, is that stores who like taped off areas like this is for when Yuengling is here and kind of kept shelf space for it. I don't think you'll see that when Yuengling hits into the other markets. I think people won't make that space until the product comes into the market rather than holding it. And I don't think we're going to see another brand come into New England that has the power to do that. The only one I could think of that would be like if New Belgium came in and some craft stores are kind of like, haha, we kind of want to make it like a Yuengling joke, so we're going to tape some space off just for New Belgium. But I can't really see any other brands having that type of power to be able to convince a retailer to make that space.
I also think it's a very competitive market, like the article said. I mean, we're Massachusetts, like every state is, but we're in the midst of there's a brewery opening almost every week in Massachusetts, and they're getting new tap handles. And right now, we're in the midst where, right or wrong, you have a local brewery. It's automatically looked at as being a good brewery. So if you're going to have a local, brand new Aeronaut Brewing Company, just using it as an example from Somerville, not many people know it outside of Somerville. But if you're in Somerville and you have a choice, what am I going to take off tap? I'm going to take Slum Brew, I'm going to take Notch, which is local, or I'm going to take Yuengling.
Right.
I think just right now, especially how the market is, if you're local, you're getting on the tap handles at least for a while. So see how it sells. So I think that's also, it's just right now, it's just a hard time to expand when the two things are happening. Massachusetts exploding with beer, and it's all the be local is good local stuff. So you have two things going at one time.
And a real quick aside on that, and I know Sean has more sight into this than I do, but it seems that a lot of bars in my state kind of have not necessarily a local focus. I mean, you'll be lucky to find a bar with, I mean, if it's a 10-tap bar, you'll be lucky to have 3 New Hampshire beers on tap. This is how it is. But I don't know, Sean, do you see that getting any better with not brew pubs, but more so beer bars accepting the local, as in
I
state
see local as being king.
Yeah.
I think what's happened is that more of the independent places, the more of the independent crafty places that you and I tend to frequent more often. I think they do a wide variety of the craft
Yeah.
brands across the nation. But I think the what we're seeing a little bit too is on the chain side, where it was say like the Applebee's or the 99s, that type of chains. They're realizing that they're having um, 7 out of 8 or 10 out of their 12 lines that are mandated, but they're using the opportunity of these other 2 lines to go that local centric, kind of bring
Yep.
their local people back into the stores and supporting the local brand. So I am seeing local becoming definitely king over national, but I think I mean. We've talked about the bubble and bursting and all that stuff for a while, but I think once we start having issues around quality, I think quality is always gonna push out local.
Oh yeah.
So if it starts to be that that the word around town that there's a small breweries that are starting up can't make a quality consistent product on a regular basis to be able to sustain what is needed for supply, you'll see some of the restaurants and places getting more, okay, I'm going to go with the one that I'm always going to be able to have, and that I know that it's always going to be of high quality.
Yep. Makes sense. Let's. I mean, we almost started to bleed into it too. But Sean, your article that you brought was about the future of craft beer in Massachusetts. Want to give just a couple of points on what's going on here? I'll put the
Yeah,
articles for all this in the show notes for those that are listening.
yeah, sure. This was, which actually caught my eye at the beginning, was that I thought that when I first read the title, that it was written by someone located in Massachusetts, but it's actually written by thestreet.com, which I'm not familiar with, but they list it as Portland, Oregon. And
Oh
basically,
yeah.
that they're saying is that they're looking. Massachusetts is currently being looked at as that hotbed of opportunity, where that there are sophisticated drinkers. There are people that are drinking and paying for high quality beer. And unlike areas like California and Oregon, where that the specific numbers that they list in here. They list that California. One sec, just so I can quote the numbers properly. They list where California had 381 breweries, and Washington had 201 breweries. Oregon had 181 breweries. So they were looking at the kind of the per capita drinkers of New England, nearby states of Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, that Massachusetts is becoming like this really attractive place for breweries to expand into, because although there are maybe 50 to 70 breweries right now, there's still a lot less than what's in California state or what's in Oregon. So there's still opportunity for breweries to come here and kind of get a good buzz from it. This article goes and talks a little bit about Massachusetts is home to the largest craft beer event in the country, or one of the largest ones, which is the American Craft Beer Fest put on by Beer Advocate. And they kind of make a joke that, like, if you wanted to get Duck Rabbit or Speakeasy Big Daddy from San Francisco, your best bet in New England is to get it at that brew fest.
And
Um,
that. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, the other thing I was gonna say was that they took a nod at the success of the craft beer cellar, where Kate and Suzanne are have multiple shops opened in the Massachusetts, along with other shops in New England and outside of New England. So it's kind of it's building up that attraction. It does mention that the breweries who are building locations in North Carolina area to fulfill demand in the East, where Massachusetts and New England is going to be part of the big markets for that expansion for them.
It almost kind of flips the bubble question on its head, where so our first perception of a bubble is, for New Hampshire, when will breweries in New Hampshire, kind of overpower the state? But now we're getting to a question in Massachusetts where not just local breweries, but breweries that are now available in the state that kind of is a different question. Where now New Belgium is not a brewery in the state. If they come into Massachusetts, will that take some sales away from other, kind of like what Yuengling we're talking about, take away some sales? So it kind of brings a little bit of business competition into a kind of a business that I perceive as a kind of a camaraderie.
One of the newest ones to announce coming to New England is New Holland.
Ooh, yes, Dragon's Milk.
Say it again.
Dragon's Milk? Is that one of them?
Yeah, Dragon, New Holland, Mad Hatter.
Mad Hatter, yeah.
Oh yeah, I just saw them in Connecticut too this weekend, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
so that's cool.
They're an excellent brewery too. I mean, that Dragon's Milk is fabulous.
But I mean, is it sustainable in a climate where people want local, or is it going to be one of those where they go to the store because they have it and then they're good with having it for a while? Like,
well, I think like Sean said earlier, it's if you're good enough, if you're a really good brewer, you're going to succeed. You might not grow as fast as you would have 5 years ago, but if you're good enough, people are still going to buy you. It's just going to be a little slower build than it was maybe, like I said, like 5 years ago. But
right.
I mean, Mad Hatter. I mean, Dragon's Milk's a fantastic beer.
There's been a theory about distribution deep versus wide, where we're going wide is sort of what I believe it was it Schmaltz Brewing that was doing it, where that they weren't trying to get their trying to get stacks of beer in all these different places, but really get cases of beer across the board in many places, having a wide distribution, kind of reaching out to a larger audience, and not having the worry of whether or not that 5 cases is going to stay around in one store too long because it's the wrong spot.
Yeah.
And I think people are looking at Massachusetts or even New England as an area to increase that distribution to be more wide than necessarily deep. So I think Brian, your question was that will people be able to sustain the inventories that is needed? Probably not, and they probably don't intend to do it that way either.
Yeah, true. I think we'll have to just keep our eye on it, because as these breweries start to come into Mass and New England, it'll just be different questions. I mean, I know there's a lot of breweries in New Hampshire trying to get to Maine and Mass, so that's more local. But as these national brands start coming this way, which is good for the craft beer drinker, it'll introduce a lot of interesting confusion to those that aren't really familiar with the scene. Like, oh, Bell's, where's that in Mass? Well, they're not from Mass, they're from this. So we'll see how those questions go. But we have a couple interesting events, and we were going to talk about Beer Camp a little bit, but I think we should save it to next week, because the fest is next week. We can talk about it then. But the 12-pack is out, and at least out here, it received crazy amounts of fanfare. And Norman, Sean, I know you got your hands on some of them brews, but we should probably figure out what's going on behind it all by next week. How about that for homework assignment?
Sounds like we got to drink 12 different beers.
Let's do it. Let's drink all 12.
The third one, so by tomorrow night, no.
1 12-pack. So let's. We got a couple things come up this week, and then we'll shut her down, because it's just starting to thunder and lightning here in wonderful backwoods New Hampshire. So I don't want to lose anything. But tomorrow, I want to give a quick shout out to, if you're watching live, to Beer Buddy Ben. He's doing a screening of his movie 100 Head Hard Feet at the Music Hall, and in Portsmouth, and I believe it's at 7 o'clock. And it's awesome, great movie. It's about a guy that runs a 100-mile ultra marathon, and I've seen it twice, and I can't wait to see the third time. So you'll find me there. Big shout,
Brian. That's going to be at the Music Hall tomorrow.
Yes, Music Hall tomorrow, which is Thursday the 24th.
Okay.
And so
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock curtain, 6 o'clock cocktail hour. You can probably find me in the Earth Eagle Portsmouth Brewery area before then. Not to give you an exact location, but check my Untapped. But as the train tolls, we move on to the next topic. But yeah, check it out. And tonight there's a book signing at Earth Eagle. I believe it's Lauren Clark, who wrote Crafty Bastards. I bet you that went well. I'm sure it just ended. But this weekend we have 2 fests going on. I'll let Sean talk about the one in Mass, but I'll give a quick shout out to the one in New Hampshire. The Granite State Brewers Association Summerfest is this Saturday, And by last count, and the count was updated about a month and a half ago, it looks like 29 of New Hampshire's breweries will be there. This is an all New Hampshire Brew Fest, and it looks like it's going to be great. It sort of replaces the festival that used to be at White Birch, but this is now in Henniker. I'm looking right at their name. It's in Manchester. So, Sean, do you have any insight on the venue, how it's looking so far?
I don't. The one thing that was thinking though that I was thinking was that I know we had talked about last year. I kind of liked the way that they had organized the Southern New Hampshire Brew Fest, where like
Totally.
Friday night had like some people special, and then Saturday had some other people special, so that it wasn't like the city. I mean, they kind of expanded the number of breweries that they're having.
Yeah.
I understand why they made the change, because obviously they want to be able to fundraise for the Brewers Guild and kind of help that grow from its infancy. I think it should be a big good festival. The weather seems to be good. It's probably gonna be hot.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it's hot right here in freaking New Hampshire already. But so yeah, check it out. I'll put the link in the show notes. But for those, if you just Google Granite State Brewers Association, it's on their website and on the events page, and it lists all the breweries there. And no, answer your questions, I will not be there peddling my book. I don't even know I'm going to be this weekend. I don't know. But Shano's got one close to his neck of the woods. What's happening? It's a big one.
The
I'm a big
Yankee
fan.
Homecoming Brew Fest, which is the fundraiser for the traditional Yankee Homecoming Festival in Newburyport, Mass. It's on Saturday, July 26th from 5 to 9.
Nice.
It's held in a gigantic tent in the waterfront, right adjacent to the boardwalk. I just counted about 24 breweries that are scheduled to be there right now.
Nice.
Pretty good lineup. You will have Yuengling there if people are looking for it.
Yeah.
Yuengling will be there.
And Jansen, you're bound to find at least 2 Jansens there.
I don't know. I may be in Manchester.
Oh, 10-4.
Yeah.
How about even Rye Guy?
Very possible.
All right. So keep an eye on the at Two Beer Guys feed, because you don't want to get a beat on where they're at.
Exactly.
And Normie, you got one to talk about?
Yeah, one event for the people who are watching live, obviously, because it'll be too late by the time it's posted. But on Thursday night at 7 o'clock, Jack's Abbey celebrating its 30th.
Oh,
You're going to have to repeat it, Normie.
Wait a second, Normie. Strike that, reverse it, go. The event was so epic it kicked him off, so did
It's
lightning
a Jack's Abbey something.
Did lightning hit his house? Find out.
Brewing tomorrow night on Thursday.
And Norm will buy you a pint.
Yeah. Rail Trail Flatbread Company in Hudson. 20 beers on tap. They're taking over every single tap for 3 hours. You name the beer, they're going to have it, including a mystery beer. But they're going to have several versions of the Framing Hammer, including the barrel aged,
Peanut butter and jelly?
Peanut butter and jelly, coffee, the coconut. They're going to have the Berliner Lager, the cherry Berliner Braun, the Maibach, the barrel aged, standard hop on.
Awesome. So you're going to have 20 beers there, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So just get there.
Like I said, a mystery beer.
Yeah, but do you know what it is? You're the freaking beer nut. It's your job.
No, I haven't had a chance to talk to him. Even if I did, I wouldn't tell you. I would.
We want exclusive. We want a freaking exclusive, Normie, to bring on the show.
My guess is they're doing their first ale. No.
Yeah, right. They break out of it. Yeah.
What? I'm actually really.
They're gonna do a session IPA because
they actually did. They did a session rye IPL, so that would be too close. I'm actually really looking forward to it. I haven't had a chance to try the new Berliner Lager, which is different from their Berliner Braun.
Berliner Lager.
Traditional Berliner Weiss, but it's made with lager yeast as well. So I'm looking forward to trying that. So I'll be there tomorrow night, unless there's a murder or something at work. And other than that, I'll be there drinking.
Also, you're going to be this weekend. We might find you at Treehouse.
I'll be at Treehouse Saturday afternoon. I'm doing a second article for Craft Beer and Brewing magazine. I'm doing it for the Innovators edition of the paper magazine. I'm going to be doing it about Treehouses and their IPAs.
So you might find two people in the same room. You might find Normie and at Rick Brews on Twitter, just tossing it out there.
Whoa!
Probably Jay Anabomo or however you pronounce his name.
Yeah, exactly, Joe Bobo. And then that. So if you get if someone gets a picture of all three of them, if they're all there at the same time, we'll figure out something to send you. That'd be nice. Maybe an autographed bottle of BBC that I have lying around. Of Norm. I do have a bottle of Norm lying around that.
An autographed bottle of Norm.
Come to the house after Treehouse on Saturday to drink it.
It probably tastes like toenail right
Norm.
at this point. Yeah.
I'll have 3 growlers of Maryland beer to bring over too.
Ooh, all right. So that's going to do it. I know next week we have 2 big topics we want to bring back and talk about with the full gang. We want to talk about Stone doing a very interesting expansion to Berlin, Germany, and they're doing it in a very interesting way. I feel like a weird newscaster, like, don't go in the backyard, but we'll tell you why at 6. You know, that kind of.
Yeah. And then we can talk about, at the same time, St. Frillian and the deal with Green Flash.
Yeah. Okay, so 2 San Diego newses, and we'll bring it back this way because, well, I guess another California news. We'll talk about the beer camp because that's next week in Portland. And if you keep an eye on all Sierra Nevada's tweets, they have their freaking road trip, which is like a beer lover's dream. Norm is talking. Oh, Norm's keyboard doesn't type with spaces on the old chat here, but. Yeah. But yeah, so until next week, guys, check out the podcast and I guess have some great beers and tweet at us if you have something good. But Norm, Sean, it's just a triple Three Amigos this week. We should do it. We should do this all the time.
Let's get rid of Astro Boy.
Done. All right, guys, we will see you all next week, and cheers to y'all.
Cheers.
Cheers, boy.
Later,